done stepped in the game? At point blank range, who done stepped in the game? At point blank range, who done stepped in the game? Stepped in the game, stepped in the game.
I've been pondering a question, and I've been pondering for quite a while. So, with the advent of individuals appearing from thin air, that being one Laura Kate Dale, Emily Rogers comes and goes as she pleases. Digital Foundry came up as a business several years ago that spawned from Eurogamer somehow, and they're just relied on. So I have a question to those individuals, and as well as the highly intellectual, or so they claim, YouTubers that use these individuals as sources for their information when they decide to talk about Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Wii U, and anything else technically regarding video games. The Nintendo Switch specs, which were supposedly leaked by said trusted sources ahead of time, and therefore they're trustworthy. If these specs were leaked, why are some of the key pieces of information that are critical to understanding what this system is capable of, why are those pieces of information missing? And notably, I'll speak of VRAM. And the reason why I say that is Nintendo always uses some type of VRAM in their memory hierarchy. That determines how many pixels can be drawn per frame. With Wii U, it was eDRAM, 32 megs of it, along with 1TS RAM for Wii backwards compatibility. With Wii, it was the same as GameCube, and it was 1TS RAM. And before that, there were separate memory modules of VRAM for the N64 and the raster operating unit for the Super Nintendo and the NES. Unless somehow magically Nintendo Switch is drastically different, answer that question for me. What are the specs for how fill rate is going to be determined on this console? It can't just come from main memory because it won't be fast enough. So if you're willing to leak the memory clock of the main memory, if you're willing to leak clock speeds of the supposed CPU and GPU on this Tegra X1 platform, how are pixels going to be drawn to the screen? That's very important. And that determines exactly what this system can do, not G-flops or teraflops. That's a legitimate question. Take your time and please come up with a legitimate excuse. Well, I won't say excuse. A legitimate explanation that entertains people that didn't get their technical background from a trash can, and maybe we'll actually come to some common ground here. That includes all you YouTubers with several followers who are clinging onto this information. Why didn't you ask about that? IGN, why didn't you ask about it? PewDiePie, why didn't you ask about it? It would seem that people that are technical in nature, that would have been the first thing that kind of raised into their head as a question mark. Yes, we have a generic understanding of what type of computations can happen. And even in that regard, we don't know specifics, such as what other custom ASICs exist on this system to help it out or be its detriment. So, Laura Kate Dell, Emily Rogers, Digital Foundry, what's the VRAM setup? You're leaking everything else. What is it? How does it work? And why haven't you leaked that? Do you play games to have fun or to impress other people?